Hey everyone, welcome to the first ever episode of Circus, and my first guest ever is Mr. Charlie Wheeler.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah.
Lovely to be here.
For people who don't know you and your background, who are you? What do you do?
My name's Charlie, and I'm from England, and I spin Cyr Wheel mainly. That's kind of mainly what I do, but I'm an acrobat of general other things. I like to dabble in group acrobatics, and I jump teeterboard, and a bit of solo acrobatics. I started off as a breakdancer, and then I went to a circus school in London. It was called Circus Space, now called National Centre of Circus Arts, and that's where I learnt wheel. And since then, I've kind of been travelling around, performing. Now I do lots of teaching, which is really fun. I love sharing that and just exploring.
Yeah. You're here in Vegas right now for the Cyrs and Beers event. So.
Yes, we finished last week. It was pretty intense. 4 days of 72 people, Cyr Wheel artists, which was crazy. It's so wonderful to walk in that big. They kind of rented a big basketball courts area at the Vegas University, and you just walk in and there's just everybody setting up their wheel. And this is my second year. I came 2 years ago, and it was beautiful. And then, they invite 6 teachers, 6 coaches from around the world, and we just share what we have. And then there's a big battle at the end at a brewery.
Nice.
And that was pretty wild.
I saw some clips from that. I looked insane.
It was nice. It was fun.
I'm always curious how many Cyr Wheel people there are just globally, because I feel like 70 people is a pretty large proportion of that like general population.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder, especially in like North America, I guess in the States, right? 70 people. I wonder how much that is of the Cyr Wheel population.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's half, but then, you go to Europe and it's quite a big difference. There's probably a lot more, I would say, because we have a structure of schools which churn out a lot more people. Nowadays, people do Cyr Wheel as their like secondary discipline. I mean, that's kind of more how it started. So how many Cyr Wheelers or how many people can spin wheel? There's 2 different questions. Poof. What number would you say? I mean, South America has a bunch also.
Asia as well, actually.
Yeah.
And Australia. I saw some guys in Taiwan doing all the things.
Yeah, this is now they've got it. It's pretty scary how fast they're getting in there. I can see them behind me. It's.
I feel the same way with tricking and tramp wall.
Yeah, and I'm glad we had a bit of a head start.
Every day I'm grateful to never have to audition against these up and coming people who just wipe the floor with me after like 5 months of training, kind of thing.
Yeah, and in Russia and Ukraine, there's some crazy talent now that's just like popping up, and you're just like, whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah, Dimitri's doing some good stuff.
Yeah, it's lovely to see. It's really nice to see it spread. And the lovely thing about art and culture is that each different country has a very different vibe of doing it, depending on how they've learnt it, what they've come from. Especially a lot of Russian people come from b-boying, actually, which is what I came from. And there's like quite a lot of that in England. A lot of Cyr Wheelers that have come from the hip hop world, and that really changes how you use the discipline. In South America and in Europe, I think there's quite a lot of jugglers perhaps that come into Cyr Wheel. So then their viewpoint of it is a whole different. It's a manipulation of an object, right? It's how can I move this? How can I move myself? Whereas perhaps when you would come to it, it's like, right, this is an acrobatic discipline. How can I do my flips in the wheel?
Yeah.
That's the loveliest thing. And then you see, you have ballet dancers come to it, and they just look so much more graceful than I could ever look. And that's the lovely thing about culture and traveling, and me traveling around the world and seeing this firsthand has been really special and has been so instrumental to me, like improving and progressing and enjoying, constantly getting fed by the different kind of avenues that you can go down with this perfect wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. So I never realized that you also came from a breakdance background. I knew like Christopher Thomas did, because I remember him doing like jackhammers or crickets under the wheel as it orbited and things like that. Oh, so cool.
And he does this beautiful trick. I don't know if Christopher Thomas is the man, and he busks every day in London. So if you go there to Leicester Square, chances are you'll see one of the best Cyr Wheelers out there just doing his thing. He used to do this trick where he would be in, you call this orbit, right?
I do. What do you call it?
We call it basketball.
That makes
Very
sense.
English. Australians call it wizard. which is the coolest name ever, right? Yeah, right. So I love that. So
nice.
I like to say that in my classes. Like, yeah, we need to call it Wizard because it's
cool.
so dumb. So he'll be here in Wizard, and then he like steps forward and then does a back roll to like head slide out of the wheel. And yeah, his jackhammers with the wheel just like this close to his face.
Yep.
Crazy.
So sick.
Yeah, beautiful.
So I saw the video of you on So You Think You Can Dance doing contortion breakdancing. And I went, oh, okay, so he did that. And I didn't know if you had already been doing Cyr Wheel at all or not at that point. Did you even know it existed?
Yes.
Okay.
So I had been to the school for 2 terms.
Okay.
And then I auditioned for that TV show. And it was there was a girl in 3rd year who was auditioning. And at a party, she was like, oh, tomorrow I'm auditioning for this thing. And I was like, oh, that sounds fun. Didn't really think anything of it. And then the next day, I woke up quite late in the day, and it happened to be at like 3:00, and it happened to be around the corner from my house.
Nice.
And so I was like, I'll just go. And it was an improv there, so I was like, perfect. And then I got through, and then the next week was the TV show one that you saw, the audition there. Prepared a little something and got through on that. And then so suddenly within a week of me just being like, oh, that sounds fun.
Yep.
I'm like going to this boot camp. I had to like miss school. School was so annoyed about that.
Yeah. He's doing the thing that we're teaching him to do. No.
So, but I hadn't chosen, right? In circus space, you spend the first year kind of, what's nice, there's different types of circus schools. There's like, I think they're called like primary and secondary, or intermediate and advanced. And the like intermediate ones, you don't have to have gone to a circus school. Whereas the ones like ENC or things like this, there are ones you have to have had some training already. So in my school, the school that I went to, you don't have to. So you can go without knowing about circus, which is what I did. I thought I was going to hang out with some lions and like elephants and shit.
Why did you even apply and go in the first place if you didn't know what you're getting into? Like, just a spirit of adventure?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
It sounded so fun. I was really into like theater as a kid, and then kind of got into dance. And then when I was at college, like 16, 17-year-old, I like found out about physical theater, and that was like the amalgamation of my 2 loves. And it was like, oh, cool. Looking for universities was like, okay, drama school, dance school. I don't really know where I fit.
So this was kind of a nice marriage of the two. In a
yeah,
sense.
there was a school that had like a physical theater and circus course, Circomedia in Bristol, and was looking at that. And then my friend said, oh, if you want to go, I think it was one of my teachers, she had a student go to Circus Space. She said, oh, if you want to do circus, there's an actual school specifically for that. As soon as I auditioned for that school, I was just like, this is wild. This is amazing.
Nice.
Then I started training flexibility in that year because I was like, I need to have something circusy, you know?
Okay.
My parents bought me a unicycle for my Christmas. Learned to ride that. I bought like contact juggling balls, some like cocktail shakers. I was just like, right, I need to get something circusy. Auditioned with some, just a little breakdance number with a little bit of bendy stuff, and I was like, that's circusy. And then I learned what actually was circus. And I had seen the wheel a little bit before, but it wasn't until I left the school to do the TV show, had a lovely gap year just performing and learning about the London kind of performance scene. And then I came back to the school because I realized what I wanted to do. And I always knew I would come back to the school. I was like 18 when I did the show. So I was like, oh, I can get some experience doing some things. And I really found out what I didn't want to do, how I didn't want to be treated in my jobs. I didn't like being a piece of meat, you know, of like, I did a couple of like adverts and things like this, and you're just there to do this. And and the circus world seemed very inviting and celebrating of individual, which I loved, and that wasn't the dance world of London. I found that was a little more elbows in auditions.
I feel like that's the dance world in most places.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially the commercial world of performing. And I wasn't cut out for that. That's not. I don't want to show people, like, convince people that I'm to hire me kind of thing. I mean, that I'm becoming now a very privileged position that I hope to make my work do the talking, right? And I don't want to. So circus was a really lovely thing. So I came back to the school, did a little bit of the school again that I had already left, and then I chose Cyr Wheel.
Interesting.
I think I knew I was gonna choose Cyr Wheel, but
I feel like b-boys gravitate towards it. Like, not just you and Christopher, but like the mechanics of it make sense from a b-boying background. You know, you're doing coins. Well, you're basically doing the start of a coin drop.
Yeah.
It's hand, foot, foot. The open, hollow body position as you spin is sometimes weird for gymnasts who are used to everything being this tiny, tight radius. But then if you're used to this, and also like the idea of anticipating where inertia is going to take you next and passing through that, just like you can't do turtles by being like, I'm on this hand.
Yeah.
I'm on this hand.
Yeah, it's hip placement, isn't it?
You have to always think ahead too. Yeah, and exactly. Send your hip placement and send yourself ahead of the current placement kind of thing. So I feel like it's sort of a natural, I don't want to say progression or extension of b-boying, but I see how the two really correlate quite strongly.
Yeah, and falling. And that's the major thing with Cyr Wheel, I think, right? It's like, if you're a juggler, you have to get used to picking up your balls and throwing them, right? And if you don't want to have that relationship with your equipment, whereas in Cyr Wheel, the only relationship you're going to have for the first couple years, however long, is falling and getting back up, right? And that is the b-boy experience. That's the breakdance experience.
Yep, learning windmills on concrete. Ow, ow,
yeah,
ow.
and your shoulders just get ruined. And yeah, like you're close to the floor with Cyr Wheel. You know how to fall. You're falling on your shoulders a lot, spinning, you know. I never really did much power, but head spinning and hand spinning, it's all the same with Cyr Wheel.
Yeah.
And I found it was just so much easier to do air flares with a wheel than without a wheel.
Same, as it turns out. Still working on that damn trick.
Yeah, aren't we all?
In every direction, with every technique. 15 years in the making. I will get air flares eventually. It's been my fantasy for a long time to have a demo video where it's me doing hand waltz and then next to it doing the same with air flares. Bonus points if they're in the same direction, and then a second clip starts where it's the opposite direction or something like that. But we'll get there by the time I'm 50. So when you were in circus school, what would you say were the most positive aspects of that? Like in the moment, what was kind of the thing?
I think meeting people, and I think that's something that's just carried on through the rest of my life from there. I think especially being from an island, it was the first time that I had maybe European friends or something like this. At the time when I was there, the school was a very had lots of different age ranges, right? So I was like amongst the young cohorts of the year, and then we had people up to 35 in the year in the school, and so with that age comes just wonderful experience. Yeah. And you meet these people. I remember this one dude from Argentina who had worked so hard to come over to train at this school. And suddenly you realize, for me, that was a very normal experience to graduate college and go to university and do this. And you see these other people that have worked really hard and decided they want to go to this school and put so much energy into the school. And that really helped me understand the seriousness of it, right? How higher education should be. You have to put in. Whatever you put in, you get out. I enjoyed the variety that Circus offered. The variety of, I was a breakdancer. There was another breakdancer in my year, Chris. We had a couple of parkour dudes. We had some trickers. We had some gymnasts, and we would all train together. And that was so lovely. And I was kind of used to that in open gym. We have that, right? Where we're used to having the trickers, having the free runners, having the gymnasts, the b-boys. And then there'll be times when they mix, and tricks will, oh yeah, I'm trying this. And oh yeah, how can you help me with that? And I love that, right? That variety and that interplay. And now I don't really go to much open gyms these days, but I imagine that's much more, the boundaries aren't as much more set, right? There's not like a group of b-boys. Maybe there is, but I feel like now, especially with tricking, everyone does the kind of capoeira breakdance movement. Free running now tricking and free running is just a location. Right. That's the thing that kind of separates them. Of course, if you're not kicking, you're not. Whatever. But
yeah. Well, there will always be people with different degrees of zeal, but I do feel like it's become a little more blurred lines,
which is lovely.
Yeah, I'm all
and
for
that's
it.
So cool. And that's the same in Circus, a lot with everyone trying different things. And tricks coming from, I love seeing trickers come into Circus. I love seeing breakdancers come into Circus, doing aerial, doing teeterboard. It just changes how it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you could do the same movement, but different, and it makes it just more interesting or different either way.
Yeah.
When you were at circus school, you met a couple friends and you guys wound up making a company together. Was that an extension of like a school project, or was this just sort of your own entrepreneurship, or how did that come about? Because we first met, for anyone who wasn't there 10 years ago, at the, at least, was it 2014 or was it?
Yeah, it was 2014.
Yeah, so 10 years ago at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, you were performing Bromance with Barely Methodical Troupe. It was a 3-man, was it 1 hour or 45 minutes?
Yeah, an hour.
An hour.
Yeah.
Either way, it's a very, very long time for 3 people to hold down a stage.
Good,
doing a lot of different stuff. You were doing Cyr Wheel, there was hand to hand, there was quite a bit of adagio, and all the movements you guys did were always very innovative. That was always the thing that really jumped out to me, because 3 people is a hard group of people to run anything with, but it wasn't just a show. You were doing legit, really hard, impressive shit. And I'm a fan. So was that like a school project? And I don't mean that in any kind of like diminishing what it was kind of way, but I know some schools require like, go do the thing.
Yes.
Or was this just you guys had graduated and you were going to go create your own company and start selling it? Or
at the beginning of school, I met these guys, Baron and Louis. Baron was a tricker, incredible, one of my favorite acrobats in the world, easy. Louis is a 12-foot tall monster of a free runner, you know, soft on his feet. And so there are these beautiful guys that do hand-to-hand together, and I was doing Cyr Wheel, and we kind of just bonded quite a lot in the first year. Trained kind of pretty intensely together, and would always be trying to make stuff, trying to make little videos, and just having fun together. From my like breakdance days, I was used to finding people and kind of crewing up, you know. And I think perhaps in free running they have that. You have your little crew that you train with. In tricking, you have your crew that you train with also. And we always knew that in the third year there was this thing called the business project, the business plan, and so you had to create, you know, it's our kind of end of year write up plan thing. Or what's it called in university when you
like a thesis kind of thing?
Yeah, kind of thing. So we knew that was on the horizon, but we started working in little corporate events and doing our own little thing and creating little bits and bobs. And then, it got to third year and we said, okay, let's make this a thing. Let's officialize this a lot more. And let's try and write up a plan for a company and for a show. And the winner of this in our 10 people in the year group, you all compete against, and you win £10,000 from Deutsche Bank. So wonderful. Great. That sounds fun. So we were lucky enough to win that. And that kind of kick-started our career. We created a show. By that time, because I had had the year out, because of So You Think You Can Dance, I was in the year below the 2 boys. So we applied for that during their year. So when we won that in my third year, we started creating the show in all of my holidays. I had no holidays for my whole third year, but I loved that. So the day after I graduated, once they had been working a little bit as well, we went up to Edinburgh and we teched our first ever show. And actually, Scott, you were one of our first people that we knew to come and watch it ever.
Nice.
But we actually never met.
Yep.
But that was so lovely for us to have this person who didn't know us to come and watch us and enjoy it. And there wasn't any, you didn't owe us anything, you know. It wasn't like, it was lovely to have that and share that with you.
I'm glad to hear that. I don't know if you knew this, but after that I sent my whole family to watch it as well, because my whole family lives in Scotland. They went and they enjoyed too. That's
cool. And it was also fun because, you know, you had I think you have a relationship with Baron and with Louis separately to me as well, so that was nice. You kind of you were there to kind of enjoy all the fruits of what we had differently. We were very lucky to have a wonderful director from he'd worked with DVA, Eddie K, shout out Eddie, who helped. We'd created a half an hour piece, and then he helped create it into an hour long, and it was much more than just acrobatics. And it was a really touching piece. And that's what kind of, from that, I remember we had like 24 people in the first show, and by the end of that run in Edinburgh we were selling out, and it felt so special.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And since then, I know I've seen videos of you were very recently, was it Turkey or Hungary or somewhere?
Czech Republic.
Yes, okay.
in Prague.
I was getting closer slowly. Gotcha. You've also you did a thing with Cirque du Soleil for one of their summer shows, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that for teeterboard or for Cyr Wheel?
So I was in in a Saudi Arabia show. It was like a special event for 4 shows. I was like a main character in that, which was really fun, and doing a wheel solo, which was really fun. There was a rock with my wheel in it, and I had to pull the wheel out of the rock.
Excalibur wheel.
Hell yeah. So that was fun. And then I was on the stage the whole time, just like, whoa, look at these crazy guys, and oh my gosh. So that was really fun. And then from that, I got asked to be in a show in Malta called Amora, and I was doing teeterboard with Max and Ugo, who are 2 OGs of the teeterboard world, and that was so incredibly crazy to jump teeterboard for Soleil.
Yeah,
because I'd kind of taught myself that. So
I like that though.
Felt good. Yeah.
I mean, I think the way that you approach things is very innovative. Like, I think the fact that you came from b-boying and more of a theater and like expressive background, the way that you applied that to Cyr Wheel and made it your own, and you very much made it your own. The videos from your 2012 things are still untouchably difficult and creative. But like recently, and recent might be the wrong word, I think it was a couple of years ago, there was a video you put out where it was you and another guy jumping on teeterboard, and it was a lot of one-footed jumps and a lot of things you would never see someone do in a conventional teeterboard setup. And I loved it, and I saved it, and I stole everything from it. And
you jumped 1 foot.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yep. I remember seeing a video of you before that laying on your back on the teeterboard and getting pushed and doing basically a 360 dive roll across. And I was like, okay, I'm stealing that. The instant I get my hands on the murder seesaw, that's the first thing I'm doing. I've still actually never done that, but it's the laying on it and like feeling like I'm going to get smacked in the back of the head aspect of it. But I have done up through 900 dive roll off of it as a dismount and swing. Nice. I think swing 540 is as far as I went with the dive rolls on that. But it's one of those things I just don't really have regular access to, but you inspired all that, so thank you for that.
Oh, your B-twist swing 540 is still one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Yeah.
As I get progressively older and more broken, there's still a part of me that really badly wants to do B-twist, swing cork, swing double cork, swing 540 dive roll.
Wow.
So they think I'm going for dub, and then it's just like, he's dead. He's not dead. He meant that kind of thing. But we'll see.
That sounds like an intense journey to get there.
It's been years since my last cork, so it'll be a bit. But maybe instead of my YouTube 1 hour challenges, it can be like a 6 month, why am I doing this to myself kind of challenge. Nice. Difficult to do while also having to like work and be a human being. But, details. Yeah. I'm just sorry for the tangent. But looking back at circus school, now that you are about a decade on from it, what would you recommend to people who are considering circus school? Like, I personally don't believe it's a necessity to be a performing circus artist, but I think that there are a lot of benefits to it. Mm-hmm. Retrospectively, how do you feel about the whole thing?
Yeah, it's interesting because I now work alongside people that have not gone to school, and sometimes they feel a little imposter syndrome because they haven't been to a school, right? And that's an interesting thing, and it's sad to see that because those people usually have come into it and they've had to fight different battles to the people that have gone to school. And so therefore they've become a bit more interesting, but there's something slightly intriguing about them. The company that I'm working for quite a lot at the moment in Czech Republic, Circle Putika, lots of those people have not gone to school, and they're training on the job and they're learning, and they're dancers or actors coming into circus, picking up disciplines and performing them on stage. And that's magic because they do stuff their own way, which I think me and you really enjoy. But for sure, the school, I wouldn't be who I was without the education of circus school.
Nice.
In the very broad sense of, I didn't really know what circus was, and I didn't really know what it could be. And it gave me the opportunity to work with the boys and to have time and space. And I think that's one of the things, once you've finished school, you will never have time and space like that again.
Yeah. Isn't it ironic? Like, you train so hard to get to this level, and then you get hired and you're like, I stay here. If anything, I go down a bit.
Never, Scott. Never.
Speak for yourself.
It's the beginning. It's the beginning. It has to be, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough, because if you don't have that opportunity to fail, right? At school, I could fail, and I could start to learn wheel, and I knew I didn't need to be very good here until I finished. And that is such a empowering thing. I think I would recommend schools for sure. If I now were 18 again and looking at schools, I didn't know other schools existed. In these Anglophone countries, we don't think about going to different countries to study because I don't speak that language. You know, how could I do that? But in other countries, there's a much more culture of studying abroad, and I would now look at these other schools in other countries and would want to go there. So I would say research the thing you want to do, the people that have finished the school, and the teachers that teach it. That would help me decide where to go. I think you can learn on the job, and I think I have started learning on the job so much, so many things. I think Circus School is great because it introduces you to lots of different people, and you're next to this juggler training all day, you know. And I think if you're only in your Cyr Wheel world, you don't know about this juggler and this aerialist and the situations that they have to wrestle with, and how can that help you? And wow, okay, there's an aerial hoop artist. Oh, that's a cool trick. Oh, they're doing something on the floor. Oh, maybe I could do that on wheel. So there's all of these just accidental connections that can be made when you're in a hub, in a bubble of people wrestling with the same problems, right? Wrestling with the same physics that you're doing.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because you were literally next to a juggler in your Muggler's Jonky act with the cigar box juggling, and you with your little monkey tail. Yeah, that was a cool one.
I'm so glad you watched that. That was great. Yes. That was in our second year. We have to do a piece, and me and this juggler, Tom Gaskin, great friend of mine, just said, hey, let's just do a piece together. Like, we've got third year to do our own thing. Let's just challenge each other and try, and I'll do some cigar boxes with you, and you come and be silly in my wheel. And that was so fun. And so collaboration, right? That's another thing. In this climate of finding jobs, you're on your own a lot of the time, and it's tough. And at a school, you have that opportunity to collaborate, and you're hopefully pushed to do that. And I've learned so much from that. You talk about the 1 foot jumping. That's from working with Vincent, who I jumped with during this contract that you saw. And he and Jeremy, his partner in Montreal, they kind of pioneered that, I guess. I'm not sure where they found it from or if they saw it or whatever. Every teeterboard coach tells me to never jump on 1 foot. Naturally. So I'm sure that they were the first people to have courage to defy that. But it was from working with him. I remember seeing them, and they jump teeterboard like I've never seen before, and make shapes in the air and make it a beautiful dance, and would do different types of tricks. And Jeremy was a cheerleader, and Vincent is a skateboarder. Right? Okay. And so they have and it's these backgrounds that influence such interesting things. So they're doing like cheer things and skateboarding like shapes, and that's beautiful. And I got the opportunity to work with Vincent, and he led me through how to do 1 foots. Nice. And then suddenly that's now part of my vocabulary, and that's so special. Like, you work with other people, everyone's got something to teach you, everyone's got something to like, and they want to share with you, right? We want to share what we like to do, of course. And it doesn't take, and that's one great thing about Circus, it's not zero sum, right? If I do 1 foot, that doesn't make his 1 foot look any worse. Yeah, it's interesting as well. Another thing I thought about as you were talking about all these different disciplines training alongside each other, I feel like in a place like that, or even in like Las Vegas Circus Center, when you're elsewhere in the world, I feel like it's very insular sometimes. Like, you might be the greatest guitarist in Fairbanks, Alaska, but you're in Fairbanks, Alaska, and you're not surrounded by other people who do the thing that you do and can kind of foster more growth from that. And I feel like on the other end of the spectrum, an issue I run into frequently when I'm coaching here, or even just training myself, I've got a decent amount of imposter syndrome, is that the level is so through the roof, and you're looking at these people who are the best in the world at what they do, and you're just like, oh, that's what it's like. Oh, great. Yeah, I'm just supposed to juggle 13 balls kind of thing. And it's not that. But like, I think that can go either way. You know, it can be demoralizing, or it can be the most motivating, inspirational thing possible. Because while you may not aspire to what exactly they're doing, the sort of realm of possibility gets expanded in a way. So
That's interesting. There's a guy who's a friend of mine. He used to have an aerial Russian swing act at the Beatles Love Show in Las Vegas. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. There was no dismounting. Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Oh, just all the way around all the time.
Wow.
But like the craziest stuff, Chris Carrison is his name. He is the coach currently of Mad Apple, and he's been the head coach of a bunch of Cirque shows. But yeah, he would do just insane stuff like swing upside down and hang by his fingertips and then like jump back on it like a board as it comes back down. And it was that same idea where he was a gymnast. Then he got fed up of the rigidity of the code of points, and he was like, no, I'm done with this. He became a surfer and a snowboarder. And then he came back to gymnastics later in his like late teens, early 20s. But now he had this different approach to it. And so he joined Cirque du Soleil as a Russian swing pusher for Saltimbanco. But he quickly realized the physics and the feeling of the board are the same as being on a half pipe or in a barrel wave. So he was like, I could surf the wave. I could surf the board. So then he started trying to like do all this stuff and go inverted and stall out. And then he just started taking this whole insane vocabulary of tricks like, what if I go upside down and skin the cat so I can flip and land on the fulcrum and then flip back onto the board as it goes away from me kind of thing. So you create something super innovative and unique when doing that. And maybe, I could be wrong about this, I don't know who came before you in terms of Cyr Wheel, what their backgrounds were. But I mean, and you know, they created the foundation. This is not me in any way trying to diminish their contributions to the circus world, but like, in your couple of years of being at the circus school, you not only met the level, but you created a whole new level of tricks that the best in the world now are still trying to do your stuff. Like
some of them.
I mean, I saw when I was at the last session of Cyrs and Beers at Circus Center, and I was reclusive up in the tramp walls, I looked down and I saw someone doing your no foot
nice.
And sort of go in and close, and I was like, oh, it's happening. Someone else can do it. Like, that's so cool. So
with Cyr Wheel, that was really interesting, going to this school, finding out about circus, and then deciding what I wanted to do, right? Like, wow, how do I decide my life? That was so weird. Tried all the things. Cyr Wheel was my first option. Bounce juggling was my second option because I enjoyed that lesson so much, and I saw, I could probably have some fun around here. I could make my impact on it, right? In breakdance, you're taught how can you make your impact on this move, right? I'll teach you a flair, now make it your own. So that's where my like education has gone through that, and that's the same with theatre, right? You're given a script, and it's like, right, make this, do this the way that you guys do it, not how this company has done it. Right. And suddenly I saw this thing wheel, and there was a guy in the year above me, Billy George, who was like the first person at the school to do wheel, and he was just on his own training, and he wanted somebody to train with. So he taught me a little bit, and that was lovely. And I saw that, wow, this vocab of skills compared to juggling or compared to hand or straps was so small, so tiny, right? I'm older than Cyr Wheel. And that was so crazy. So the idea of, right, coin, front flip, Superman, half turn, switches, back coin, maybe. And then it's like, and then you're done. So that kind of happened pretty quickly, and I saw, wow, okay, I can have some fun here, and then it became just a life's journey of enjoying that. It wasn't until like 3 months after doing wheel that I even clocked that my surname kind of was pretty serendipitous with it. And that was like, oh shit, okay, well I need to fucking be good then.
And then you started collecting the coin Superman for your Cyr Wheel Infinity Gauntlet and being like, ready? What if I went upside down and untwisted my legs and stayed there?
And then you see in my second year, I saw the first person do handwatsing upside down, and people were spinning upside down. And then I remember seeing a video of this guy, Jaime Morales, in the background of a handstand girls video, just coming into play and then going off and coming in. And he was very not secretive, but he didn't share much stuff before. So poor him, that video of that handstand girl, he's in the background. I remember my teacher coming in and be like, Charlie, look.
That's funny.
And suddenly I saw his arched shape, and suddenly within that week, I could handwaltz endlessly. And it's crazy. And then that was in my third year at the school. I'd been doing wheel for like a year and a half. And then it was like, okay, learn to spin upside down. What's the next thing? Well, you'd learn a half turn. Okay, how do you do
just
this?
Take the,
right? So it was just the simple.
You just took the regular vocabulary and inverted all of it, basically.
Right, that's what a front coin and a back coin is. That's what and then if you're a bit loose, you look at some German wheel. Okay, cool, I can do that. Straight line stuff. Perfect, I can do that. And then the rodeo was born, right? Not from me, from Stefan Kingsman. And so it's so nice with this discipline that's super new. You can just find different things, and I worked on trying to get a raise in the wheel, and now I've found this new way to do a raise in the wheel. Chris Thomas has made up countless tricks that have now, with all the foot hook, suddenly this foot hook means that you can pull against it. You're not just pushing. So just every month, new things get the ollie, That's a crazy move to come up with, a coin without hands.
Yep.
And it's also simple when it's been made.
Yeah.
But that journey to get there, to come up with it and to physically do it, they're two whole different things.
Oh, yeah.
That take a lot of crazy things coming together. And that's a lovely challenge. I really enjoy that in Cyr Wheel.
Yep. It's so relatable. I love laying in bed late at night, half delirious and about to fall asleep and be like, what if I, and I'm like, it makes sense. And I go to the gym the next day and I'm like, it does, but no.
It never makes sense. It never. The physics never work the same, but it will take you to a place where you'll go, okay, you just need ideas to keep you training, right?
Yeah.
To keep you playing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if those ideas are terrible, if they don't work, if they're nothing, but it will take you somewhere, right? If you keep spending time with something, it will. And so I'm enjoying having that process I enjoyed having that process with the boys, with hand to hand, with banking, now with a bit of teeterboard. Like that's super fun, right? Okay, how can we flip in different ways? People are doing crazy things on the teeterboard. Yeah. I'm not a high level double, triple twist flipper, but there's so much fun to be had on a low level.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it a low level. I've seen you do fulls and things like that off a teeterboard.
I've never done full.
Yes, you have. I've seen the video.
100% never done a full.
What? Maybe you were pushing in this specific video. I swear I've seen you do a full.
But we could pretend. Yeah.
That full you did was great.
And I've never twisted a double somersault.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. You want to learn?
Oh, absolutely.
Sweet. Okay.
I'm definitely gonna
tomorrow. But you have done 5 vertical twists on a trampoline. I remember that. I apologize for my encyclopedic memory of random Charlie Wheeler videos, but
my Cyr Wheel teacher was a trampoline coach.
Okay.
And so one of our fun things that we would play is how many twists can you do to your back?
Nice.
And so I think we got up to 7, and that was really fun.
Jesus.
And then it was like double, open, double, trying to play with that. And she just wanted me to spin and get used to just spinning.
That makes sense.
I had a lot of fun with my coach at school.
Nice.
And that really helped me. She can't spin. She doesn't know. We were making it up, right? But I would fall and she would just giggle and laugh, and I would get up and do it again. Nice. And I feel like that was her job, right? To convince me to get up and try again. And that's been really helpful now, like working with people to like, right, my job, I can help them. I can tell them arm here, left arm there, put your weight more there. But I just need to give you that like confidence to keep going.
Yeah, you can do it. Do it.
Yeah.
What then, given that was kind of how all this started, how has your relationship with the wheel changed, if it has, in the intervening decade?
What a beautiful question.
Well, Scott. It comes from my friend Ariel, who is a Cyr Wheel artist herself, currently at the Beatles Love. So
lovely.
Yeah.
I worked quite a lot with the wheel, and then it got to a point where wheel became like if I was in a group show, if I was in a group show, wheel was kind of like I wouldn't put much effort on it, much time on it, because I can do that, right? And I can't do teeterboard, and I can't do banking, and I can't do all the group things. So I didn't neglect it, but it took a back seat, considering that was my specialty. Then COVID happened, right? And I was locked at home, moved back to my parents' place in the forest in England, and didn't know anybody, because they had moved from my family home to kind of retirement home. And luckily we had a patio that I could spin on. And so I spent 7 months just with my wheel, and my wheel saved me. Like, it was so lovely to have that. I never had free training where I could at any point in the day, in the night, go there, spin, put on my own music. I could spin for 10 minutes and then go eat some food, have a shower, come back, spin for 5 minutes, spin for 3 hours. Like, time wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
And I had this whole new constraint, right? How the hell do I stay spinning in this like 2-3 meter by like 3 meter space? And I've got windows that I've promised my mum that I'm not going to break. Like, this is horrible, but this is all I got. And I was very lucky to have that. And I had online sessions with Hugo and people like this where we would just train like we would normally. Nice. But I would spin for a bit and then he would spin, and that was fun. But through that time, me and the wheel got a lot closer, and we learned a whole new vocabulary, and it really changed how I moved, right? I think when I graduated, I was very excited by the big power tricks and pushing that. And now I realize what's maybe interesting about the way I move is the way that I move with the wheel and the in and outs. And it's not my job to tell me what's interesting with what I do, but I think that's nice. I enjoy doing that. And that's now really far away from these big power tricks, right? But I still adore doing the big power tricks as well. But I now that I'm working, doing other things, teeterboard, some swing, acrobatics, I don't ever need to work on the wheel. I don't feel like I need to perform with my wheel. My wheel is there for me and for the culture and for the community. And I share my kind of knowledge or whatever with teaching and things like this. I go around different schools and I'm lucky to get opportunities to teach. But I don't feel like I need to perform on it, which is really fun. I'll get jobs now not doing Cyr Wheel, which is alien, right? It was alien at the beginning to me. So that's a life. I have a life ahead of me of spinning. And I'm very grateful that I have this thing that it's my little secret, me and my wheel have a little secret, and we just will play, and I'll neglect it for a little bit and then pick it up and adore it. Yeah. And it remembers me, like it's like a bicycle, obviously.
The first time I ever saw a Cyr Wheel was actually at Jam in LA a couple years before I met you. Sarah Moser was there, and she had a Cyr Wheel that she had just bought. Okay. And I was like, what is this thing? And
but you knew her?
I didn't, actually. Okay. I just saw this girl with a wheel and introduced myself. And I didn't know anything about the circus. I didn't know anything about any of this. And she told me what it was, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I looked up videos of it, and I ended up finding your videos and being like, oh, okay, that is a thing that people can do, or at least this person can do. Fair enough. I was on a show for the summer, I think actually in 2015. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was 2013 or 2014. But I had seen your stuff, and we went to a gym, like me and one of my other castmates who was a Cyr Wheel artist, Greg McElroy. And so me and my friend went to the gym, and they had a wheel there, and we're very different heights, but I tried to spin on his wheel a little bit, and I tried to spin on the wheel that was at the gym, which was also nowhere near what I would need for ideal circumstances, but I didn't know any better. It didn't matter. Then I proceeded to say on my CV that I had done Cyr Wheel, because technically I had done Cyr Wheel. Yeah. And up until this point, every audition Cirque du Soleil ever put me through was for tricking, but all the other subsequent ones were for tramp wall and trampoline. And then fast forward a little bit, and Sarah actually became my roommate. She was performing Cyr Wheel for Cirque in their show Zarkana.
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember thinking to myself, like, wouldn't it be the funniest thing if I taught myself Cyr Wheel and I got into Cirque du Soleil after all these years of being told, like, get out of here, you're worthless, for this thing that's completely foreign to me that I've seen Charlie and Sarah doing. And I did, because I lied on my resume, and they were like, hey, Scott, we'd like you to come in and audition for Cyr Wheel and parkour for Chris Angel. Okay, sure, I'll do that. And went and tried to teach myself how to waltz for like a week and faked it well enough to get the job. And here we are. So thank you for my career. I appreciate you. We're almost out of time, but I just want to wrap things up with some quick Cyr Wheel specific questions, because quite frankly, you've probably got a bunch of Cyr Wheel people watching who are like, tell me the secrets. So which direction do you spin?
Left.
Have you ever spun right?
Yes.
How does it go?
makes me dizzy, but my other teacher, Mark Glover, would make me spin and learn most of my tricks. So I got up to like learning back coin on my bad side. Whoa. Which was
gross.
But it's great. It's great for teaching.
Yes.
Right. If I'm ever teaching somebody to coin, or now coin is a bit easy on my other side, but like at the beginning, I'd do coin on my bad side. Okay, this is the things that you need to think about, right? That's the same with acrobatics.
I do the same exact thing. Okay. Shoes or no shoes?
Shoes. Yeah. For sure.
What happens with no shoes?
I've got terrible feet, and I got chastised for my feet. So
fair enough.
But when I first started wheel, most people were no shoes, and me and Chris, coming from breakdance world, were shoes, and now people wear shoes. Yep. Not saying we started it, but it was a beautiful discipline, right? Like Ethan Law span with shoes as well, with Fayus, but the norm was to be barefoot. Nice. I like spinning with socks sometimes. I've got too sweaty soles. My sole is too sweaty.
Oh my. It's funny. I only ever, and this is like once every 3 years, spin Cyr Wheel barefoot if I just want to point the shit out of my toes and be like,
You've got a beautiful point there.
Well, thank you. But it's not really useful for any of the things I do.
Adaptability is super important, right? I might have a gig when I have to be barefoot, and that happens. So yes, I have my preferences, but I have to be able to adjust.
Gotcha.
I have to spin in, I only spin in steel wheels, but I have to be able to spin in aluminium wheels. Boo.
Yeah. Why did it stop spinning suddenly? Why is this floor so grippy?
Why does it feel like it's going to break?
Yeah, right.
Boing.
Ollie smash.
Yeah.
That could be a cool new trick you could invent. The Ollie dismember. What was the scariest trick for you to learn on the wheel?
Ooh, scariest. Probably this up switch, this like switching upside down. That was probably scary. I guess back going was probably very scary also.
Fair.
But I had lovely spots. I had 2 people spotting me, and yeah.
What was the easiest?
Blimey.
None of them? All of them?
Maybe coin. Maybe coin.
Oh,
I remember back handspring being the hardest for sure. Being the hardest. I would do 20 a day, and then the next week be able to do none, and was just like, what the hell?
Do you regularly set quotas for yourself when training a new skill? Do you be like, okay, I need to do at least 10 every time I train just to kind of keep it familiar and make it less of something that's in the scary zone and it starts to become a little more regular for you? Is that a thing you do?
Yeah. I think I learned that at school. We would we'd find a new skill, and then it'd be like, right, do 10 of these or 20 of these, and then that maybe took the whole lesson, right? And then maybe it took half the lesson, and so we could start on another trick, and then do 20 of those, and then slowly my first 5 minutes was doing 20 Superman, 20 coins, 20 back coins, right? And then that's the warm up for the lesson. So just slowly like putting everything together. Now, I guess I do like, right, let's do 3 of these, whatever. But my skill acquisition is much less now because I rep. That's how I enjoy to do things. I will just rep it and rep it and rep it. And with the Cyr Wheel, everything, the variables are so much, right? The spin, the angle, the weight, everything changes each time. So you have to be doing it for like years to be able to get some sort of consistency in any trick. So I have to repeat.
We have eerily similar training methodologies and teaching, as it turns out. Last one then. Are there any misconceptions about Cyr Wheel or Circus or both that, I don't want to say outsiders because that sounds very us or them, but people who are not practitioners of Cyr Wheel or Circus in general, that you wish they understood about the kind of things that you do?
A funny one with wheel, obviously they talk about the fingers a lot. Usually, sometimes I get people, I saw this great Cyr Wheeler, he spun so fast. And that's their review of it, and it's just like, oh wow, that's funny that's the
criteria.
Yeah, like, wow. Can you spin that fast? And it's like, I mean, maybe, but
how hard is the floor?
yeah, like, that's not. What, he just trains that, or so that's funny. I enjoy that's people's level of enjoyment. Common misconceptions that you can't do it on a small stage. I enjoy that. That's really fun to like. In the last couple of years, I've been challenging myself with getting booked on gigs that I might kill people, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, you and Nick Hodge both spinning on things the size of this table.
Every day.
Audience is just like, what?
Yeah. There was a lady with a baby that I had to peek out. And I was like, you need to move. To the stage manager, you need to move her. And I saw her after the show, and she's there. And she's like, thank you for moving me. I'm like, yes,
there you go.
Okay.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't think there are many. Fingers are surprisingly, my fingers, I've run over my fingers so much. Mm-hmm. You run over your fingers?
A couple of times. The worst was a back handspring where I was in an arch. It got pinched between the wheel and the floor and then all my weight. But because I'm in an arch, then I also fall. Then the Cyr Wheel falls. Plus, I just mangled my finger.
Yeah, that's not
Personally,
fun.
My fingers have not had nearly as many rollovers as my toes.
Yeah,
and that's why I wear shoes.
Yeah. I mean, shoes all day for that. Yeah. Don't wear gloves.
On that note, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much. But my hands, my precious hands.